Hey, we're back in the Everything After studio. G's here with me. We're going to be talking about the MCU and the state of Marvel. We both just ponied up for Thunderbolts, Asterix. We'll talk about the Asterix here in a minute and our thoughts on the movie and just where we think the MCU stands right now. Um, how's it going, G?
Doing good. Doing good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So, what do you think of Thunderbolts, man?
Overall, I thought it was pretty good. I don't think that many of these projects have been a whole lot different from each other. I
Huh.
think people's perceptions on them have been somewhat, different in each one of them. Because I feel like they're pretty hard on Quantum Mania and not as hard on Deadpool and Wolverine. Even though I feel like you can nitpick those both in the same ways. And then like Captain America: Brave New World. This one is better made, I think, for sure. Like the quality of it is better. Like they took their time with it, which I think shows. I think that's important.
Hmm.
And it feels more like a movie, but I feel like overall, like I don't get much of a different vibe from any of these projects from project to
Wow.
project. And that's just
I
me
didn't
because I'm a
expect you to
fan.
say that. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you definitely have a deeper knowledge of Marvel than I do because you've kept a lot up with a lot of the source material. Like you've followed the comics and stuff a lot more than me. I used to do comics. It's been a long time since I bought a comic.
Yeah.
I do comic book day every once in a while. Like I go on a free comic book day and buy a couple comics or whatever. But like, no, I haven't kept up with it like you have. I've kept up with most of the MCU stuff, and I think there might have been a few things I've missed here recently, maybe some of the series stuff. I think I've seen all the movies, but I got a really different vibe from this one. It felt more like the Marvel that I loved. It felt to me like a return to storytelling. Some of these other Marvel projects of late have just felt like connectors, like they
Mhm.
just connecting this thing to this thing and setting up this thing, and
That's what they
there's
are.
just too much back stuff, and there's too much homework involved. I think even some of the MCU like showrunners like have started to admit that there's just too much homework involved. And there is with this as well too. I mean, these all these stories did just magically these characters and these stories did just magically appear on screen for Thunderbolts. There's backstory there for sure, and it's important stuff, but um, I felt like it was a better entry point. Like I still feel like
But
you could have probably started with this one. It felt, and it felt like an Avengers movie to me.
well,
And
it hit a lot of the same beats as the first Avengers movie. They fought in the city
yeah, yeah,
against
it
the
does.
the invading force, which wasn't aliens this time. It was a singular being, but like they fought in the city. It was they each kind of showed off what their skills were. It wasn't quite as involved as the original Avengers movie, but like we got to know all the people, so there wasn't a whole lot of like introduction to them in this either. Because
Right.
my mom, I went to see it with my mom, and she didn't know who Red Guardian was or Yelena. She knew who Bucky, and I think she knew who John Walker was because I showed her a few clips because I thought he was cool in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, she didn't know who any of the people were, and she enjoyed it. It wasn't her favorite thing she's ever seen, of course,
Right.
um,
Right.
but no, it borrowed a lot of beats from the original Avengers, which I think we'll in retrospect we'll uncover more and more of later. But I feel like that whole city fight, not really the city,
Yeah.
even the fight, just the scene where they're saving people, really, like
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
showing that they save people and stuff. They weren't really fighting
Right.
anything.
Right.
So
Buildings are collapsing. They're standing between the innocent and the rubble and destruction. That was very original Avengers like. I
hmm
agree with that. What I really liked about it, it's a team building movie. It's a movie where people come together and maybe they're not expected to be this cohesive unit. They're kind of ragtag. I like that element to it. They're all flawed. They're all sort of seeking some kind of redemption. Spoiler alert, their meeting wasn't by accident. They're meant to meet and basically destroy each other. And instead of doing that, they form a team. And it's not as simple as that sounds. There's conflict and there's resolution that happens. But what I really liked about this story, and there's not a force in the end that they have to go up against.
Mhm.
Is not a Thanos. Is not a Galactus character. No. It's basically mental. It's emotional. I described it when I got home. It's like this ragtag group of misfits and anti-heroes going through group therapy. Basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
And in the last scene, is a group therapy session, and but it's packed with action, and it's exciting and thrilling, and I really liked that. I thought it was deep. I thought it told relatable, personal, intimate stories about each of these characters, and in my opinion, it's a real return to force for the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, it's the quality is good, and like the thing that a lot of these movies don't have that people are missing is they are connectors. Like you mentioned earlier, like they're meant to go from one thing to the other, like episodically. Like that's how comic books do it, and like a lot of people haven't read comics or don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like they have crossovers, and that's what these are akin to. There's like all these movies
Right.
and TV shows are akin to the Infinity Gauntlet crossover. And there's an infamous, I guess we could call it, example where I bought. I think it was a Silver Surfer comic, maybe. Or it probably wasn't a Silver. It was. I think it was a Spider-Man comic or something. But regardless, it was a Singular Heroes comic, and it had the little crossover thing in the corner. It says Infinity Gauntlet crossover, and the entire episode or issue was a normal issue that I didn't understand because I don't read this comic that I bought because it was a crossover. And the last page had, I believe, Doctor Strange show up and warn somebody about something, and
Yeah.
that was literally it. So I was like, oh, I was like, maybe I should think more before I buy these crossovers.
Yeah. Right.
Because so like I feel like they do that a lot with the movies, which I don't particularly care for either, but I understand. So like
Yeah.
when I see Quantumania, like spoilers again if you haven't seen that, people claim that oh, ants beat Kang. It's like no, really, like Hank Pym beat Kang, and he didn't really beat him. He kind of slowed him down. Like he was going to
Right.
be back, you know what I mean? So like that was just one step, but everybody like flipped out, like, oh, he lost to ants. It's like, well, he lost to ants that were like groomed by Hank Pym, like one of the smartest people on
Yeah.
earth. Like it's not
If you
exactly
want to get
nobody,
if
you
you
know?
want to get really um, meta about it, Jonathan Majors defeated Kang.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a story
Unfortunately.
I heard about him showing up to a certain late night show that I'm uh, somewhat adjacent to, and he made everybody wait for like 30 or 40 minutes and like really kind of divaed it out, but way before anybody even knew who he
Yeah.
was as far as Kang went. And like, so well, that was an omen, I think.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but
Uh,
you know for a fact how excited I was when he showed up on Loki, see the season finale of Loki. You had no idea who he was. I was like, holy shit, this
I
is
know.
crazy. I was like, this is awesome. I love this. Like, it's Kang, and you're like, what?
Yeah, and
But
I did not appreciate, well, I did not appreciate his appearance in Loki. I didn't like that episode. I didn't have the
mm-hmm,
Marvel knowledge that you had going into it. I didn't know what it was, foreboding or anything. But
right.
uh, I thought he was, he was talking a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily saying anything that I thought was really intriguing. And I thought it was kind of boring. So yeah, I remember you were like, oh God, this is so cool. This is setting up so many cool things. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't like that episode, but I'll give it a shot. And it was better in Loki. At the next season, there was some good stuff going on there.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. It wasn't my favorite thing ever, but I enjoyed it. I remember too. When we went to see the Avengers and Thanos showed up in the post-credit scene, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And you're like, "Who's that?" I was like, "It's Thanos. They're going to do the Infinity Gauntlet."
Yeah,
And you're like, "What's that?" And I was like, "You remember the big crossover? The big crossover." So like, that's the thing with me in these things is like I know what I'm going to see before I see it anyway. So like my
right.
expectations are kind of right in line with where they have to be. So like it doesn't like nothing really shocks me or blows me away or like disappoints me super bad except for the most disappointing thing Marvel's ever done that I've seen anyway, at least in this era, and I haven't seen Inhumans, so I can't comment on that, but was Secret Invasion. Like, that was gobbledygook. I don't know what
Secret Invasion, the series on Disney Plus.
Yeah, did you watch it?
I did with
The Skrulls and Samuel
the
Jackson.
Scrolls. Yeah,
Yeah, like the comic book version of that is like epic and really super cool, and would have been way better when they have the X-Men and stuff like that. Because do you remember
yeah,
the Super Skrull in the comic books, the one that has the powers of all the Fantastic Four?
yeah.
Like
No,
he's
I remember it from the series, and it was I think done pretty ham-handedly. Yeah,
Oh yeah, those were terrible. Like I'm talking about the comic book version. Like there's a Super Skrull character. His name is Super Skrull. I think his real name is Clert. um,
yeah,
but he has the powers of all four of the Fantastic Four, and he can use any of them at the same time or singularly or anything like that. And then this Secret Invasion storyline was like, it turned out that a bunch of characters in the Marvel universe had been Skrulls for years and years and years, and like they finally
hmm
revealed themselves, and there was different like Super Skrulls now. Like there was ones based on the X-Men and the Avengers, and so they had like their little Skrull army, and they attacked Earth, and it was a really crazy story and pretty awesome. And actual heroes died, and turned out that they
yeah,
were weren't the ones you thought they were for ages and stuff like that. And then they did this thing, and it's like, what? Like, this is what you
yeah.
did?
Yeah, well,
Like,
some of that's in there. I mean, and I think it was Amelia Clark's character, right, who got the Super Skrull powers in the end. Except it was I think she got all the powers of the Avengers at once or something, and
and all of
then there
the
was
Black
another Skrull
Order,
that,
and
yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah,
really weird. And like, she got Drax's arm, and it looked like a little baby
yeah,
Drax arm with
right,
his actual tattoos, and it's like, huh? Like, no, why are you doing this? But no, the
yeah,
Secret Invasion comic book storyline was really cool, and I expected a lot from that. And they also kind of really dumped on Nick Fury in that movie or in that show, because they were in a roundabout way saying that he wasn't even that great of a spy. He just had a bunch of Skrulls working for him.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, I don't know if you know you're saying that or not, but I think that's what you're saying.
right,
So like, and then they had that whole thing with Rhodey, where it's like, was Rhodey the one that got paralyzed, or was it the Skrull? Did the Skrull get paralyzed? Like,
uh,
so there was just so many questions, and like whatever. It was just seemed like such a waste of time. But yeah, like the movies and shows and stuff like that, I know what I'm going to see anyway, unless they change up a thing here and there and catch me off guard, because I think they just have to modernize things once in a while. Like
yeah,
I had somebody tell me they were mad that She-Hulk changed the origin story where she didn't get a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner in a hospital. I was like, well, nobody in this universe would give Bruce Banner's blood to anybody.
right,
I was like, they know who he is. They wouldn't be like, here, have this giant green guy's blood. I'm sure nothing will happen.
right,
So like they had to find a different way to do it, and I was like, that's the quickest way to get around it. It wasn't about how she became She-Hulk. It was about her being She-Hulk.
yeah.
So yeah, and
Did you like She-Hulk?
I did. I didn't. It's again not my favorite thing ever, but I read the comics when I was a kid, and they were fun and
Yeah,
funny, and they were silly, and like that was fun and silly and like a sitcom. So I actually thought it was fun.
yeah,
Was it the greatest thing ever? Of course not. But was it fun? I thought so. I mean, cousin Larry from Perfect Strangers was the dad. You know what I mean? Come on.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. I noticed that too. That's funny.
I can't remember
Um,
Mark's. What's his name? Mark something.
Mark, I can't remember his last name
Yeah, I
right
can't
now.
either. But he's great. I
I
love
know
him.
Bronson Pinchot, but I don't remember his last name right now.
Yeah, I keep thinking of Larry Appleton, and I'm like, that's not his actual
Larry
name.
Appleton and Balky, and yeah,
Bartakamus. Yeah.
Balky Bartokomous.
I thought the
He
Daredevil
needs to
thing in
show
the.
up in Marvel now.
Oh
They need to
no.
they need to reunite those two in a Marvel show or something.
If they ever get around to doing She-Hulk again. But I thought it was
Yeah.
funny how they set up the trolls to make fun of him in the show too. The
Yeah.
the trailer had the scene where she threw the rock, or he threw a rock, and then she picked one up and threw it farther than him and smirked at him, and then they all complained online about how like, oh, she's not stronger than him. And then the next scene in the show is him picking up another one and launching it into orbit, and he goes, I was just trying to show you how to do something, man. And like scolding her for it basically. And it's like, yeah, man, why don't you guys just give somebody a second?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they played
No,
them
they
like
did
a
a good
fiddle.
job of that. They sort of poked fun at the fandom a little bit. They poked fun at the the writers and the executives and stuff like that. They poked fun at the whole MCU machine and things like that. It was very um yeah, it was very almost parody in some
Hmm.
cases.
Yeah, she did
Uh
what Deadpool did way before Deadpool did it. You know, people like,
Yeah.
oh, Deadpool
Yeah.
breaks the fourth wall. Like, she did that a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah, and like the thing with her too is people are like, oh, I don't want that in my, in the Avengers movies where she breaks the fourth wall or can exit the movie. It's like she only does that in her comics. Like when she's in the
Uh-huh.
Avengers comics or Fantastic Four comics, she's just a regular character, like everybody else.
Yeah.
And Deadpool
Yeah,
usually is too.
I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it at all. Like, I think that last episode was a little messy for me. I was like, oh, where are they going with this? They're like talking about Feige, and I think that was a little much for me. But I overall I thought it was fun and funny, which is what it should be.
Hmm.
Did you
Yeah,
watch Captain America: Brave New World? I think last time we talked you hadn't watched it yet.
no, I've seen it. I saw it the opening day.
Oh, okay.
I don't think
Oh,
there's
okay.
anything I
Okay.
haven't seen except for maybe the Inhumans. I think
Yeah. Did you like Brave New World then?
I did. It was my favorite thing in the world. It was what I expect. Again, what I expected it to be. I'm not a huge
Yeah.
fan of the Sam Wilson Captain America thing because I just feel like it's him having a sidekick that does the exact same thing as him again is redundant.
Yeah.
There's two bird guys flying around, but it's just a whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I thought what's his name, uh, Tim Blake Nelson. I thought he was good as the leader, even though his makeup was weird. But I like the leader character, so um, I thought as a character, the character was fine, but the makeup was just maybe he'll morph into something different later. It's Gamma, who knows. Um,
Yeah.
I thought Harrison Ford was a bit overkill for Red Hulk. I kind of wish the other guy was still around so he could have done it.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. William Hurt, wasn't it?
yeah, well, I was thinking John or what? William Hurt is Thunderbolt, right? John Hurt was
Yeah.
the guy from Doctor Who,
Oh, right.
right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Both gone actually, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but no, I thought it was okay. It wasn't my favorite thing I've ever seen, of course. And as far as Captain America movies goes, it's probably like the fourth best one. yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
I
thought it was a
agree.
fun movie to watch. Like as far as like action sequences and like the plot went, and like the final battle was interesting to look at and stuff like that. So I don't think it's something I need to watch over and over again. But I wasn't displeased.
Yeah. I didn't like it as much.
Yeah.
I didn't really get it. Like they were it just felt so plain to me for a Marvel movie. Like uh, the only real effects going on. And there's some flying through the air and stuff like that. Captain America and the Falcon, like the fighter jets and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. There's not a whole lot of that in it though.
No.
And then the real effects heavy part is at the end with the Red Hawk, and you kind of have to know how that's going to end. I feel like because the Captain America Sam, isn't a super soldier, doesn't have super strength. He's not going to beat the Hulk on sheer brute force or strength. It's going to be a case of appealing to his human side in some way. And so, in a way, that to me was just sort of anticlimactic, and I didn't feel like it really went anywhere.
Right. Yeah, and that's been my problem with this Sam Wilson version, anyways. The fact that he uses the shield and
Yeah,
he's not a super soldier. I'm like, well, if everybody could use a shield like that, we would, I think, because that's pretty advantageous and like pretty devastating. It looks like so. Like, I feel like Captain America uses that because he was a super soldier and he had extra strength to launch it, and like, yeah, there was an advantage there of him using it versus a regular person. Same with
yeah,
John Walker. Like, it didn't make sense that John Walker had the shield until he became a super soldier. So like, I feel like that's a super soldier weapon.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the thing that bothers me with that, and that's me being a nitpicky person about it. And like, you don't need to like think about that really to enjoy the story, I guess, because it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter that much. But like, it's just little things like that they don't seem to understand that kind of I think
So,
hurt the story overall.
so you talked earlier about like redundancy, like with Falcon and the new Captain America sort of have basically the same ability, doing the same stuff. We got a bit of that issue with Thunderbolts too,
Hmm.
and they kind of make fun of it, poke fun of it too in the story in the movie. There's not a lot of range there in terms of ability and power. We got two super soldiers there, one on Hydra
Three.
super serum and one on the, I guess, American version of that.
Three super soldiers because Alexi's a super soldier as well. John
Oh,
Walker,
right,
Bucky, and
right. No,
Alexi are all three
I
super
actually
soldiers.
I was thinking of Alexei and John Walker, but I wasn't. I forgot about Bucky. You're right,
Yeah.
Bucky also. So three super soldiers, three super strength characters. And then you've got two like basically female spy like characters, stealth and strength, and there's not a whole lot of range there. For
Mm-mm.
some reason though, it works.
Well,
I thought
I,
it really worked, and then
it's also like another Avengers, like I don't want to call it parody, but maybe parallel, um, where they have two assassin characters, Hawkeye and Black
yeah,
Widow, and then they have Yelena and Ghost.
right,
One's a Shield trained agent, one's a Red Room trained agent, and you kind of get. But I mean, I guess technically Sentry's a super soldier as well, so they have four super
yeah,
soldiers, and if they ever use Sentry, he has every power pretty much.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
As long as he's following the comic book rules, and it looks like he's pretty close. So like that character in the comics literally has every power you can think of. Basically, he has psionic, telepathic, super strength, speed. Like he's basically absorbs yellow sun exactly like Superman.
Yeah,
Um,
he's what you call OP, overpowered. Like
mm-hmm.
he's got it all. He's pretty hard to beat. Again, like any normal person going up against a Hulk. Uh, and so in that final scene, they're defeated. We're talking spoilers here, but they're basically defeated because
Mm-hmm.
they can't match up against this guy who's got every power in the book. And so it turns into this sort of therapy session almost, battling of the mind, which I thought was really interesting.
It's like a Gary
And
Busey
the
quote.
scene you talked about the shield and who's strong enough to wield the adamantium shield, and it's in Thunderbolts, of course. Um, John Walker, his shield gets pretty bent out of shape.
Yeah, gets tacoed.
Yeah, Taco, that's right.
The final battle reminds me of a Gary Busey thing where it's like you can't punch depression, you got to hug it out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
So it kind of
that's
reminds me of
right.
that. But that's the thing that keeps Sentry from being OP, I guess, is that his villain is even more OP than him.
Yeah.
And anytime he, you know, because like in the comic books, I don't know how they're going to do this in the movies. I remember there was one time you asked me about Agatha Harkness when WandaVision was going on. It was the day before the next episode came out. I was like, well, in the comic book, she's a 500-year-old witch, but I doubt they'll do that for the show. And then the very opening of the next show was 500 years ago, Salem. And I was like, God damn it, I just spoiled it. Like, I can't believe they're doing that in the show. But anyway, like, the Sentry is like two people plus Bob. So, like,
Yeah.
the Sentry's the good version, the Void is the bad version, but they're still in Bob. So, like, it's almost like a God situation. Jesus and the
Yeah.
Holy Ghost and God. Like, so like there's three people in there, I think, technically. So I don't know if they're going to do that with that. I did it with Moon Knight too. You asked me how close the show was to the movie or the comics. I was like, well, there's three, and I don't know if it doesn't look like they're going to do that. And then they did it at the end. I was like, yep, there we go. It's like I gotta just shut up. Everything I know is a spoiler now. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
I liked Lewis Pullman in that role, though. I thought he did
yeah.
a great job with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw something on social after that said that Stephen Ewan was
Yeah.
going to be in that role at some point, but then dropped it so he could be in Mickey 17, or it was conflicting with the schedule. I think Lewis Pullman pulled it off. I don't know if Stephen Ewan would have done it.
No offense to him, I like him. He's fun, but I thought that was a weird casting choice. And when they said
Yeah,
Lewis Pullman, I was like, this is better. I think this will work. That's cool
yeah,
though. It's
yeah.
Bill Pullman's kid and Kurt Russell's kid hanging out and being on a team
Ah, that's
together.
right. That's right. That's a great connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I thought,
yeah.
and I think these like I don't think it's gonna be hard to make people care about Ghost. I feel like
Hmm.
Red Guardian's pretty funny, so like they got that. Like John Walker's, like Bob said, kind of an asshole, so like people kind of get into that. And, we've liked
Yeah.
Bucky for a while now, and Elena's just probably like the best written character they've done in a long time.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh is fantastic. That
Mhm.
opening when she kind of tips off the top of that building, the second tallest building in the world or whatever. I saw a clip where she like actually did that stunt. They asked her, "Hey, you like heights?" She's like, "I love heights," and she fought to do that stunt. That's impressive.
I think that she got dumped on pretty hard for the Black Widow finale too, where they had that crazy looking CGI explosion.
Hmm.
and so she wanted to do something that was way better this time, and succeeded.
She's
That's a
good in it.
great
She's
shot.
phenomenal in it. She brings a lot of that emotional weight to it, which is great. Like
Hmm.
the scenes of her and her father, the Red Guardian, Alexei, are just emotional. And Marvel movies can be emotional. Like
Yeah.
this was an emotional Marvel movie. Like I felt it. It was good.
The thing is, I think we've maybe talked about this with Star Wars too. Like the genre shouldn't be Marvel movie. You should wrap the characters around another genre.
Right.
That's where I think you get the advantage. So like this was like the one of those underdog stories, and I think it worked well. The way
Yeah.
they did it and all that kind of stuff. So like they just got to find a way to do that. Like like in Star Wars case with the Mandalorian is like a western for the most part, at
Yeah.
least the early season. Like
Well, like you said, Marvel's starting to get that a little bit. She-Hulk was not like other Marvel content or properties. Like they basically made a Marvel movie that's a corny
sitcom.
courtroom drama parody,
Yeah.
and that's a completely different genre from what you're seeing with a lot of the other stuff. So if they keep leaning into that, if they do a little more of that, I think it'd be really interesting.
You haven't seen Daredevil. Is it Born Again? It's not Reborn, is it? It's Born Again, right?
I've watched the first episode of it. I got to get caught up though.
Well, no spoilers or anything to ruin it for you, but like
You're
it's
right. As we just said, your knowledge is a spoiler. Like whatever you say is
yeah.
probably gonna,
I'm just gonna
but
say
I
like
won't even get it until I get there, so it's all right.
well, I was just gonna say it's a different thing too. Like I'm sure you've
Yeah,
seen it in the first episode. It's a lot more violent and like
yeah,
visceral and stuff like that. So like the whole season does like that. That's all I'll say because I don't know what else spoil. So
yeah.
my friend one time was when he saw this trailer for is it Far From Home with Mysterio?
I think so.
Whatever one with Mysterio. He's like, oh, this looks cool. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, Mysterio's a great villain. I was like, oh, he's a villain. I was like, oh shit. It's like it's
I
just
knew that.
that's what I
I
thought
knew
everybody
that
would know that
much. I
Mysterio's
knew
a
enough
villain,
about.
but
I watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and I was in the Spider-Man comics, so I knew Mysterio was a bad guy. You wouldn't have spoiled that one for
right.
me.
Well,
I do
he's
have that level of knowledge of Marvel.
I think he's like 12 years younger than me, so
Yeah,
he's a little bit behind on the comic book stuff or whatever. But like anyway, so I just got to remember that I can't say stuff unless I put a spoiler in front of because I told everybody I was like the Scarlet Witch is great. Like who's that? And I'm like it's Juan. Like and they made that a big point too. I was like God damn it. So, so like I have to just talk about things that have already been seen. I think
yeah,
because
yeah,
I can tell you what's going on in the Fantastic Four movie probably, and you know
yeah. I'm sure you could.
yeah, and I don't want to so because I don't know for sure, and I want to see it. So
Yeah.
um,
I think that looks good.
I do
I'm
too.
pretty
I'm
psyched
super
about it.
excited.
And the teaser to it in the end credit of Thunderbolts was not subtle, but
Hmm.
I'm excited about it. I think the casting in it seems great. I didn't hate the Sony Fantastic Four with Chiklis as Ben Grimm and um,
Ian
Jessica
Garfield and
Alba as Sue Storm and Chris Evans as Johnny Storm and what
Ian
was Mr.
Garfield.
Fantastic? Ian Gruffield.
Owen.
I thought those movies were pretty good at the time when they came out. I was like, they're pretty good.
They were they weren't like the greatest things I've ever seen, but they were fun. They
Yeah,
were fun and they were relatively competent. You know what I mean? They were
yeah.
movies. You know what I mean? They weren't like sloppily put together crap. I thought they were
You
interesting at
know,
least.
the effects stood up like it told a story. They had distinct characters in them. The writing wasn't bad. They were a fun time to watch. Like you said, we didn't used to have super high standards for these movies.
No.
They didn't make as many of them before. So if you made one that was somewhat competent, it was successful.
Hmm.
So it worked at the time. You went back, you could go back now and compare it to some Marvel standards of today. It would be better than some of them, I think. It would probably compete with some of them, but it wouldn't stand a chance at some of the better made Marvel movies
No.
of today. But it was good, especially for its time, I thought. And then they made a reboot with Miles Teller and some other Jamie Bell, and that one was pretty stupid and not well
Kate
made.
Mara.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that. It had bad word of mouth, and I didn't want to waste my time on another Fantastic Four failure because
Yeah, I don't know if I watched the whole thing, honestly. I think I checked it out. I was curious about it, but no, it wasn't good.
there's a really funny bit from. Do you know Tim Heidecker?
Yeah.
He does a show called On Cinema with Greg Tarkington, another comedian, and they play like hyper exaggerated versions of themselves and stuff. And they know the guy Peyton. Sean is it Peyton? Sean Peyton? What is the guy's name that directed Ant Man?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
It's
But
Peyton something. But anyway, like they know
yeah.
him and they know Josh Trank, and they both ended up in one of those movies.
Hmm.
And the episode where they reviewed both of them, like Greg was in Ant Man and refused to review it because he was in it, and then Tim reviewed it and just absolutely shit on it and was like talking because he hated Greg or whatever. And it's hilarious. And then they go to Fantastic Four, and Greg's like, "Oh yeah, you paid 15 grand to get in this movie. I think that's pretty cool." He's like, "I didn't pay anything. They asked me to be." He's like, "No, I heard you on the phone that you were talking to him about paying 15 grand." He's like, "That's what people do nowadays." He's like, "I didn't do anything." So they're just arguing about it. It's really funny, um, but yeah, so that one I was like I
Yeah.
can't like because I wanted to not watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans either because I wanted Marvel to get the rights back.
Right.
And not that I was singularly would do anything, but I was just like, if more people think like me, maybe they'll make a deal with him, and they did. So, and I waited forever to see the Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, I think that's one of the best Marvel movies they've made because it's just like pure Spider-Man. You
Yeah.
know, they got the
I
origin out of the way, like in another movie and in the introduction and everything, and they just let him be Spider-Man. So I thought that was pretty
yeah.
fun. So I'm excited to see
I
that
think
for the
it's really
Fantastic Four.
hard to make a bad Spider-Man movie. That one's just so fun. Yeah, I guess you can screw it up. I think, unfortunately, Spider-Man 3, the Raimi one, had some problems with it. It was so
Spider-Man
hyped up too. But
Spider-Man's not a
Spider-Man,
city level villain. He's a local villain
yeah,
or hero. Like you need if you have a citywide threat, you need the Avengers. That's what they're there for. So like
yeah,
when the Lizard wants to turn the entire city into lizard people or whatever, it's like, well, that's a bit much. Like that's more than Spider-Man's scope, I think. So like I
yeah,
think to keep it within his realm of like relation, like relating to him, I think it needs to be smaller.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
It's like Superman, like usually have to take away his powers or like have somebody that's as strong as him. But if they're as strong as him, like they can pretty much punch through Earth. So you
Yeah,
usually have to take away his powers to make him, relatable and stuff like that. So that's one reason people
right.
like Batman so much is because he's just a regular guy, so to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah. I think you've always been in the more in the Batman camp. I've always been more Superman,
hmm
Spider-Man. Those are the guys I like.
yeah, I like Batman and the X-Men. Those were usually my favorites growing up.
Yeah.
And Green Lantern. I think Green Lantern's pretty fun, but I don't know how I'm going to feel about Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. He was a huge jerk in the comic book, so it'll be fun to see if they
Yeah.
play him off that way in the movies. He was really funny. He's one of my favorite characters. Like,
I love Nathan Fillion, so I'm willing to give him a chance. I think he's overdue to be in a Marvel movie and to be a superhero
hmm
of the caliber of the Green Lantern. Like he should have been doing something already, I think. So I'm willing to give him a shot at doing something really cool with that character because I think he's just super fun. He should have been. He's a superhero
hmm
kind of actor. He's got the chin and everything. That just like the
Gravitas.
demeanor. He's made for these movies.
He was just like, I don't know what you call it, Easter egged into Guardians of the Galaxy 1 or 2 on a movie
Right,
poster
right.
where he was playing Simon Williams, who's Wonder Man. I don't know if you remember him or not. Uh, he's like a robot, and he's a Hollywood movie star. Also, he's usually a
Yeah.
West Coast Avenger, and they're making a Wonder Man show right now, and I don't remember who the guy is, but it's not him. It's a different guy.
Okay. He
Um,
also is in Guardians of the Galaxy though, like in a bit part at one
part
point,
three,
right? He's
yeah,
like a security kind of guy or something.
yeah, he looks
Like
like a pill bug or something.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's part three, I think. So yeah,
yeah,
he's friends with James Gunn anyway. But uh, I think it'll be great as Guy Gardner because Guy Gardner, like I said, is always like kind of a snarky jerk, and he's good at that.
hmm
And you saw they added him to the Lanterns TV show with Chandler and the other guy, right? Kyle Chandler.
No, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're making a
That'll
TV
be good.
show that's supposed to be, they said, like True Detective, which Green
Yeah,
Lanterns are
no, I knew they were
cops.
making the show. I just didn't know Fillion was officially added to the cast or anything. That's
It was
cool.
recent, yeah. It's just the last week or two, I think, maybe. But I remember
Yeah.
talking to you about that one time where I said they should make a Green Lantern show and get the guy that made The Wire to do it. Because I was like,
Oh
they're just
yeah.
cops in space. So I was like, well, now they're going to just do like a True Detective version of it. So I was like, oh, that's probably going to be fun. So
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm
yeah,
looking forward to that one.
yeah. So and like I said, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, and Hal Jordan are kind of an iconic trio in DC Comics. So it'll be great to see them finally on screen together in a realistic way.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Reynolds,
Now,
I love him, but he's not really Hal Jordan. Like that's not really that
right.
was really a
No,
bad
no.
casting choice.
Well, I mean, he's works great as Deadpool. Like
Yeah.
he's perfect in that role.
Hmm.
Um, so you talking about like them announcing that Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion's joining the Lanterns isn't quite in the same realm or the same league as Marvel just like using its marketing in a very bad way, in my opinion, and just spoiling movies after opening weekend like they did with this Thunderbolts movie. I'm really not a fan of what they did with that.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
that would have been much better to release on streaming, like as the new Avengers,
yeah,
and put the asterisk and then put Thunderbolts underneath it or something like that. But to do it
yeah.
I believe it was midway through opening weekend, wasn't it? What didn't they do it Saturday?
It was very fast, yes.
Yeah. So I thought I'd seen it already, so I was like, oh, okay, sure. I was like, that's kind of sucks for people who haven't seen it yet, but you know,
Right. Well, I mean, I came home and I told my wife and my daughter who were interested, and I was like, I really liked it. I would like to see it again, and we can go watch it. And then I said, don't look at anything on social media about it
hmm
because it's really shitty that they did that. Um, it was a cool moment in the movie, and it's just out there now.
hmm
And we could talk about it because I mean, we're not spoiling it. Marvel spoiled it, but
right.
the fact that yeah, the asterisk at the end of Thunderbolts is like the text for that, I guess. The subtext for that is that this is a team that is now referred to as the New Avengers.
Which I thought, again, based on comic book knowledge, because there's a run in the comic books where Norman Osborn does what Val does basically,
Yeah.
and starts a team called the Dark Avengers. And it's not the
Okay.
exact same lineup or anything, but I thought that's what it was going to be, not the New Avengers. Like there was a New Avengers comic book, and if I remember correctly, it was led by Luke Cage and had Spider-Man and Wolverine and Captain America in it. So like,
Hmm.
some of their naming things is weird. Like the original Thunderbolts, they've had a bunch of different incarnations. Like they've basically turned it into the Suicide Squad. You know, like for
Yeah.
DC. Like originally they appeared in the Incredible Hulk as a super team because like after, do you remember a thing called Onslaught by any chance? Like the X Men
No.
mega crossover where a character named Onslaught destroyed
I
Marvel.
mean, rings a bit of a bell, but I don't have a great memory of it or anything.
It was around the time that we were peripheral to comics, so I didn't know if you remember it or not. But anyway, like
Yeah.
I didn't read that one either because I was burned out on crossovers at that point. But what happened basically was that Onslaught killed most of the heroes. He killed like the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and blah
Okay.
blah blah.
I do remember that now. Yeah. Now that you talk about, yeah.
And like out of the power vacuum, this new superhero team showed up, and nobody knew who they were, and they were
Hmm.
kind of a mystery or whatever. And they got their own comic book called Thunderbolts, and I think maybe it was the end of the first issue or the third issue. I can't remember exactly. They revealed who they were, and it was the Masters of Evil, led by Baron
Hmm.
Zemo, who would like because Baron Zemo thought that since there was the heroes had left, he was like, what's the better way to like gain power than to like be a superhero? So they wanted to gain the public's trust and like he had this plan if they came back and they did come back and then he took control of the superheroes and the Thunderbolts were mad about it and like they wanted to actually be heroes because they got used to it and they all turned on Zemo and like so I thought for sure that Zemo was going to have something to do with this,
Yeah.
just based on he's on the raft like the last time we saw him was there and like there's a screenshot on Brave New World where it looks like you can see into his cell,
Hmm.
from the leader's perspective. So like you can see a guy leaning back reading a book. Like because he has the books in the cell, from the last we've seen anyway.
Right.
So there's a lot of talk of like, oh, the leader and Zemo are going to talk, and like the leader's been a Thunderbolt as well. So like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I wouldn't be surprised because like now that more spoilers that the end scene of Captain America: Brave New World, like the leader is warning Sam about the others, quote unquote, like, and they're at odds with each other. The leader Samuel Stearns might join the Thunderbolts. If there's
Oh my
something
gosh,
happens to
yeah.
the raft, like Baron Zemo could as well. Like, so like, there's spoiler knowledge that we could have. And I guess
Yeah.
Ross is
So
there too, right? So like, Ross has been a Thunderbolt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I thought. So I thought that the asterisk, because Ross, Thaddeus Ross, his nickname is Thunderbolt. It's
Hmm.
Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, right? And
Correct.
so I thought the asterisk was there because of what happens in Captain America: Brave New World, and
Hmm.
that he becomes the Red Hulk in the end. He's like put in a cage, and there's a one of the trailers that they put out for this was Alexei saying, "Oh, we're the Thunderbolts," and then I think it was
Bucky.
Bucky or somebody was like, "We can't call ourselves that." And I
Yeah.
thought the reason was because Ross, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, was disgraced. I
But
thought that's what the connection was.
in the movie, he goes, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
And he's like, oh, it's our
Yeah.
soccer
So
team.
they
So like,
it's a complete
red herring.
yeah, misdirection.
Hmm. Yes, I thought that and people have thought that the Void was going to have something to do with the Void.
Right.
Like from Loki and Deadpool and all that kind of stuff. And it's like I don't think he will. Like I don't think they'll make that connection because I don't think that needs to be a connection. But like that is, I can see where that could be confusing. Like, oh, the Void, Deadpool and Wolverine, they were talking about that. Now this guy's the Void. What do they mean? Like, not that
Yeah.
anybody remembers that far in the past anymore, but I can see where there could be a little bit of confusion because like the Thunderbolts thing, like I thought there would be, maybe something at the end where they have to break out. Like, not after started watching the movie, I didn't think this, but like beforehand, I was like, oh, maybe they'll break out the raft, and like they'll,
Yeah.
but no, but
It was I mean it was kind of funny, but like it felt like when the origin of like the name Thunderbolts was like made into a joke. It was like the child soccer team of Yelena.
yeah, where they didn't win a game or something.
Yeah, that was
That's,
weird. I thought. I'm like, how do you do that and not reference? I mean, the immediately previous film that had a character whose name who's known as Thunderbolt. How do you
yeah.
not do that?
Well, the trailer made sense where he's like, we can't call ourselves that. I thought they'd be like,
Exactly. That's how I thought. That's what I thought the tie-in was. I thought the reason was because of what happened in Brave New World, and they didn't even touch on that at all, did
no,
they?
no. They did say something about a new president or something, right? Like
Yeah,
they
right.
did make note of the event happening, but they didn't really like
Oh, yeah, it says
that.
something like, yeah, the last president turned into a giant red monster or something. They do say something like that.
Yeah, but that could have been done in ADR, like
Yeah,
after that other movie came out. So yeah, this
right.
movie, I like the trailer that came out that said it was absolute cinema or whatever, and it showed all the different credits of the people who worked on it that were worked on other really good movies like Midsummer, and
Hmm.
I don't remember all of them to be honest, but it was just a a sign that they're like, hey man, like we made a movie this time, so come check it out. And like it does what
Yeah,
it does. The end credit scene was done by the Russos. I don't know if you've heard that or not, but it was
yeah,
officially done by the Russos. And like I like how they do that because that means that this is something we'll probably see in the next movie. Unless they do an Arrested Development, because they did Arrested Development too, so like we might actually see it like on the next Arrested Development. Um,
right. I guess what you're saying is like if the director of the movie that you're watching does the end credit scenes and he sets up something that the next director doesn't pick up on, then that's hugely disappointing. But if you have the next director, the next movie, do the end credit scene and set something up, you know it's actually going to pay off.
right, at least
Right,
somewhat. And I
right.
think that's a really good idea. Like the thing at the end of Shang Chi where they're like, "Oh, where does this beacon come from?" It's like I don't know. And it's like we still don't know. And that movie's
Yeah,
what 5 years old probably now. Like, didn't it
right.
come out right as the pandemic started? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff like that that just never pays off, and like I don't think that helps anything. Like the Hulk scene where the Samuel Stearns gets like the blood dripped on him. and starts morphing or whatever like that. Didn't get paid off until this year.
I know. I
And
know.
granted, I thought it was a pretty fun payoff where it was like he was behind the scenes the whole time, and like the leader's the
Yeah.
kind of character that you can be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like he's the kind of guy that would do that anyway. So like it's kind of cool they kind of retconned that into existence. I think that's one thing I like to say. Sometimes it just takes a couple things to make me happy about a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
that was one I was like, oh yeah, Samuel Stern's been behind some stuff. Like we'll find out later what else he was behind. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
So
no, I had the other reaction to it, which was, "Oh yeah, remember that movie, Incredible? No, not that one, not the one that you're thinking of, the one with Edward Norton in it
yeah,
before the Avengers, before Mark Ruffalo took over the role. Remember that one? Oh, you didn't watch it? Well, then you're not gonna know who this guy is." It's like,
yeah, you didn't know who Tim Roth was either in She-Hulk.
no, no,
Yeah, and what was it? There was something else that was like, well, Betty Ross hasn't been around since that movie either. Like we haven't seen Liv
I
Tyler.
know. Liv Tyler shows up at the end of Captain America: Brave New World, and it's like, oh yeah, like that's what you're gonna do? Just pop her in there for like 2 minutes at the end?
Yeah, she should have been the one that stopped him at the end instead of Sam
Yeah.
Wilson. Like she should have went out there and like gotten between the two of them and like
I
stop.
mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was setting that up. I thought it was gonna do that. Almost like um Natasha, Black Widow, like she could calm down the
Mhm.
Banner Hulk,
Yeah.
and I thought it was going to be something similar to that, her showing up in the cherry blossoms and stuff, and like they're all
Because
kind of
they
flowing
set that up
around
the whole
her to make
movie.
that her entrance.
Yeah, they set that up the whole movie. It was like, oh, me and my daughter hung out in the cherry blossoms every year. And it's
They
like,
set it up and they
like
did not knock it down. They set
no.
it up and then they pop her in there at the end, like when he's in the cell. Like it didn't make sense to me. I was like, why didn't you pay that off in the cherry blossom scene?
Mhm. That's my problem with Quantumania is I felt like they set things up that they chickened out on. Like I think that
Yeah.
Scott Lang and Hope were supposed to be stuck in the quantum realm and like lead the. Because do you know what the Micronauts are? Do you remember those? Like that was a big
No.
comic when we were younger. It was I think they made
Yeah.
toys
Yeah.
of them. They were called the
Right.
Micronauts.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and they were a Marvel comic and a toy, and Marvel couldn't. I guess my guess is couldn't use the rights to the name because it was also a toy for they shared with a toy company. So
Yeah.
they called these the Quantum Knots. So like
Right.
these like having like Ant because they talked to his whole thing the whole movie was like he kept telling Cassie don't get involved, you like stay alone, you're worry about yourself, you don't have to worry about other people. Like they were setting him up to like like he's got to lead people. He's telling her not to be a leader. Like that's how you end up being a leader.
Right.
So like I
Right.
feel like what they were supposed to do in that movie is leave him and Hope there to one guard Kang, excuse me, guard Kang, and two become a natural leader of the Quantum Knots. And then like when Kang quote unquote escaped, like he would be like, oh, here's the warning bell again. It's Ant-Man. Why do you always show up when there's a disaster? Like he's like, that's all right. We've got this. And like then they'd have like this little army of like crazy people and stuff. And they chickened out and like they said they didn't want to leave him stuck in the quantum realm for two movies in a row. It's like
Yeah.
who cares? Like
Right.
that's what happens. Like like you don't care to have him fight the same villain more than once. So like don't chicken out on a good story because like if it
Yeah.
makes sense, do it. And I think that makes sense because like the way they did it to where Cassie just all of a sudden could do manipulate this thing to get him back immediately when it was such a dire thing if it went out. I was like, well, there was no stakes
Yeah.
there at all. It turns out, like all she had to do was like, she's smarter than Hank Pym apparently, which I think is kind of ridiculous as well. Like, and I don't have a problem. I think the actress is great. I thought she did a great job, but like, I don't like the way they had to like get around that stuff because they clearly set up a different ending and chickened out on it. Probably maybe because of bad focus. Who knows? Maybe
Right.
maybe it was such a downer that people are like, I don't like it. It's too sad. you know, but that's what would have been the good story, I think. So
Yeah.
that's one reason I think the Quantumania didn't hit like it should have. Is
Yeah.
because they set up stuff and didn't pay it off, and they did it in Brave New World as well. So
Yeah.
like, and they
Yeah. They've had a couple of weak outings, if you ask me. It's been kind of rough
yeah,
here the last couple of years with Marvel stuff. And Thunderbolts is the first real movie that's made me feel like it's going to get back on track. And I am excited about Fantastic Four.
hmm
I'm excited about Doomsday. I think that'll be good. The only thing I'm concerned about, and I don't know if I should be because it's worked in the past. It's worked with the Avengers movies and stuff in the past, but I'm always a little concerned when they try to cram too much into one movie.
Right.
And that teaser where they're going through the actors' chairs and it's like everybody's in this movie, and it's like,
There's even more than that.
I
Those are
know,
just
and
the
it's
people
like,
they've
how
signed a
can you
contract so
spend enough
far.
time on anyone when you have everyone in the movie?
Well, that's the geniusness is that we've met a lot of these characters before, so like they
Right.
don't have to do too much with them. Like Alan Cumming is back. Like
Mhm.
yeah, he spoiled something the other day. I won't spoil here because I don't know. I don't want to. It's not premiered yet, so I don't want to spoil things early. Um, but yeah, like I think Fantastic Four is going to be great too. I was this Rise of the Silver Surfer came out the same summer as Batman Begins, and I remember being more excited for the Silver Surfer movie than I was to see
Yeah.
Batman Begins, and I was wrong because Batman Begins was amazing. It was really good.
Right.
And Silver Surfer was, it was okay, but it was just so-so. So like,
Yeah.
but I
It's
was still
okay.
more excited. So and again, we've got a Superman versus a Silver Surfer this summer. So
Yeah.
and I'm pretty excited to see the Superman movie too. So those are both the
I
same
thought that was
month, right?
interesting casting for the Silver Surfer for this. They have Julia Garner in it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you've seen her in some of the stuff. You only watch superhero stuff, so you haven't seen her in things
No, I
like
don't know.
Ozark and like Christy and I watched her in Ozark. She's phenomenal in that. She's she's like a firecracker in that. And then we watched her in a few things after that, and some movies and a few other shows and stuff. Um, I'm interested to see what she does with it. She's not. I mean, obviously, like she's not in it for recognition because she's not in any way recognizable in the silver suit.
She said she'll play anything. She said I saw
Yeah.
a quote from her that said, "Isn't the Silver Surfer usually a dude?" She's like, "Who cares? I'll play anything."
I respect that.
Yeah. I have no problem with it. Like I know the character and I know what they're doing, so like I'm not going to get outraged early because I understand what I'm going to watch. And
Yeah.
again, I don't want to say because it's clearly going to be spoilers. You know what I mean? So,
Right,
uh,
right.
but I know what we're about to see at least relatively anyway. Like with pretty good, from what I've
Yeah.
seen in the trailers and what I know about like you know the setting and all that kind of stuff, I can pretty much tell you what they're doing. So, but I won't. Because I'm excited to see it too.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
they're saving the other one, I think, basically. In the comic books and the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, you remember when Heimdall sends Hulk to the Sanctum and he's like, Thanos is coming,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
busted through the stairs. That was the Silver Surfer in the comic books that did that,
Oh, okay.
but they didn't have the
Yeah.
Silver Surfer yet, so they had to do something different. So like they even do different stuff for me, So like I don't know everything, but
Right.
like.
Right.
But when I see something and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is, and I'm like, I can tell you kind of what's going to happen, like.
Yeah. Well, Fantastic Four is going to be a movie that my wife and my daughter will be attending with me. It's hard for us to all line up our schedules and stuff anymore and see a movie together because my daughter's graduating high school and
Oh wow.
my wife is super busy and but this will be one we see together for sure. I don't know as a result of that, I might end up having to see it first, and then we might have to see it again later, like I did with Thunderbolts, because
Hmm.
it's just hard to line our schedules up. But I know they'll want to see it because my daughter's obsessed with Pedro Pascal, and she's obsessed with Joseph Quinn, and so she's definitely going to want to see it.
Yeah, that's understandable. Both of those. I've seen Joseph Quinn in Stranger Things, so I actually know him from something else, and I have
Yeah,
seen Pedro Pascal in quote unquote The Mandalorian. I know he's not always there, but he's the voiceover guy.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Game of Thrones, of course.
Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
Last of
Prince
Us.
Edward
Now I
Martell.
know you haven't watched that, but
Mm-mm.
yeah,
Nah,
he's in a lot of stuff. He's kind of a hot property right now.
yeah, I think he's a great choice for Reed too. I've seen some people like, oh, I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm like, he's gonna be fantastic. What do you mean? Like, no pun intended, actually. Like,
Yeah,
he's really gonna be good. I think, and they've got different guys to lead the stories. Like Tony Stark led for a while, then you have Chris Evans, and you have like Benedict Cumberbatch, and then now you have Pedro Pascal. Like they've got big name guys that like kind of headline this stuff, and those other guys are aging out, and so we need somebody
Yeah.
new. So here comes Pedro Pascal.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Timothy Chalamet at some point. Like, just because why not? He does Dune. Why not do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they need names. Like, if Tom Cruise was like 10 years younger, man, like he'd be the perfect Wolverine. I would love
Yeah,
to
I
see
think I
that.
saw a fan like a AI made thing that had him and it was Wolverine, I think at one point.
Or
Yeah.
like the 90s Avengers, probably.
I think I've seen stuff like that where people have used AI to make like if they made the Avengers in the 90s and stuff like that. I know Tom Cruise was in it.
Yeah, and Nicole Kidman probably is
Yeah.
Black Widow, I'm sure. Or Jean Grey, at least. That would have been interesting back in the day. Brad Pitt as
Yep.
Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise as Wolverine. The love triangle. I don't know how much I
Um,
like the fact that they're bringing all the Fox people back, but it's not that I hate the Fox people; they're fine. But it's just that I was hoping we'd have a fresh start. Like, my
yeah.
idea was that when they snapped and brought everybody back twice, because the Hulk did it once and then Tony did it and zapped him again, and they both did it on Earth. So I was like, well, that right there should be enough gamma radiation to cause a mutation in people to like cause mutants to happen.
Yeah.
But they completely ignored that part. They tie everything else to the Infinity Stones, like Captain Marvel's powers and Kate Bishop's origin and like all that stuff. But I was like, you had the obvious mutant thing right there.
Right.
So
Yeah. Missed opportunity. I didn't think of that, but that's a huge missed opportunity.
yeah, because it was enough to like burn the Hulk, so it should have been. And you could see literally, I think it was when the Hulk snapped everybody back. Like you see like the wave go across the Earth, I believe, right? If I remember
Hmm.
correctly. So like that just seemed like that would have been a no-brainer right there. But maybe they will tie it into it eventually and be like, oh, like the snap caused people to have mutations too, or something. Like, so
Yeah.
who knows? Did you see Legion by any chance?
No, I never watched that one.
You should see that. It'll have no
Yeah.
like relevance to the multiverse, I'm sure, because they probably won't bother with it. But like it could. Um,
Yeah.
Legion is like Infinity Gauntlet, Scarlet Witch level, like reality warper. So like he can
Hmm.
change realities and shit. And like the show really leans into that. And like one of my favorite things from the first episode, he talks to this person. He's like, "Is this real?" Because crazy
Yeah.
stuff is happening, and a lot of it's because of him. And like it's just Aubrey Plaza's in it, and she's amazing. Uh, it's done by the guy that did the Fargo show, Noah Hawley, I think is his name,
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
or something like that. Um, yeah, I would highly, highly recommend it. I don't know where it is now, but the
Okay.
season 3 is a little bit like meh. It's 3 seasons, but season 1 and 2
Okay.
are absolutely amazing, and it's just a standalone
Okay.
thing. You don't need to know anything else. Like, I don't want to say anything else and spoil it, but it's
I
great.
like the Fargo show, so yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's extremely trippy. Like, it's one of those things where like I don't know if anything I just watched is real, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. Like it's fun. You know what I mean? It's not like you need to know anything really. Like it's just you're watching these people experience this thing. So it's just and Legion has quote unquote psychic powers too. So like they do a really good job of representing like psychic stuff in this movie or in the show
Hmm.
like that you wouldn't really expect.
Yeah.
Like there's a they just find different ways to express it without just be like I can shoot laser beams out of my head.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Brings
Like
me.
hmm,
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. It sounds good. I mean, I think I always meant to check it out. I think it was just one of those things I never got to, and I might have watched. I might even watch the first episode. It seems familiar. I might have watched an episode of it and just didn't get back to it. So I'll put it back on my list.
yeah, it's the first X-Men comic I ever got was had Legion and the bad guy from the show in it.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I was like, I can't believe it. Like it's just like I said, everything I grew up with is now a spoiler. So like,
Right.
because I thought I knew who the bad guy was, and then they kind of play it like a mystery for a long time. Not to spoil that, but like, you won't know who it is anyway, so it's not really like. But I was like, is this
Yeah.
this guy? Like I kept wondering. I was like, is it the guy they're talking about? I was like, there's no way they're doing this character. I was like, no way. And then it was. I was like, holy crap! Like wow.
Hmm.
So, and that trust me, that means nothing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
One of the characters too is an original for the show, and her name is Sydney Barrett, which I believe is the drummer for or the guitarist or something for Pink Floyd. or
Huh?
one of
Why?
the members of Pink Floyd. So like it's a trippy show, and like they even named one of the people after somebody from Pink Floyd.
Hmm.
Hamish Linklater is in it. Do you remember him?
No,
I think you remember if you saw him, but he's really good in it.
probably.
Trying to think of who else. Aubrey Plaza is just amazing in it. Like I really like her anyway,
Yeah, yeah, she's
and
great.
she just absolutely kills it on this show. So it's
Yeah,
worth it just for that at least. But no, it's a good show. I'd be interested to hear what you think of it after you watch the whole thing.
yeah. I will check it out. I'll find it somewhere.
And technically, since all this stuff is in a multiverse now, that actually happened. So it's not a
Right.
waste.
Yeah.
That's
All
what I
right.
like
So
about it.
let's cap this off and let's just give a quick statement on where we think the MCU is. The state of the MCU is. What do you think,
Fine.
G?
Which,
Fine.
yeah, I don't think that's great, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's bad because I think they're treading in a lot of territories. Because like if you're not me, you don't know who She-Hulk even is, or like
Right.
Bullseye, or like some of these people that these shows are based on and stuff. And it's like, so I get excited about them because I know who their real names and shit. And they're like, oh, here's
Yeah.
John Samson. I'm like, oh, I know who that is. So like they don't even trick me, So like but I know this stuff. So like people that don't know all this stuff probably don't care as much. So like I feel like the Thunderbolts brings it back up to fine, but I feel like it
Yeah.
was really dragging down there for a while because like nobody cares about Samuel Stearns, nobody cares about Sam Wilson. Like I mean, some people do, of course. I don't mean to speak
Yeah.
broadly, but you know what I'm saying. Just generally speaking, those aren't like people don't like them as much as they like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Thor and
Right.
Bruce Banner and
Right.
stuff. So you're asking a lot anyway because as great as those characters are, they're still not as popular as Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
like,
mean, the thing about it is, right? Yeah, it's going to be difficult to do that. But you think about it as like a rebuilding season or whatever. You got to get people excited. There are so many stories to tell in Marvel and and all of comics. I got to tell some of these other stories, and comic fans will get more excited about it than the casual observer for sure. But
hmm
give them a chance. I can show something. I feel like they haven't done that really well the last couple movies, but I'm going to complete that thought by saying I think the state of the MCU is finally promising again.
hmm
Like I'm actually intrigued by a couple things. I'm actually excited about a few things. It was hard there for a little while to kind of get up any sort of excitement about going to see a Marvel movie.
right,
And
yeah.
I'm excited about the next few that are coming out. So I think it's promising again.
I believe the next ones that come out are Fantastic Four, Doomsday, Spider-Man, whatever, and then Secret Wars. So like the next four movies are going to be heavy hitters. Like
Right.
they're going to be really really big heavy hitters because Spider-Man is supposed to take place in line with both of those movies. It's not going to be like a past or like adjacent story. It's literally supposed to take place along the storyline that we're building towards with Robert Downey Jr. and stuff, which does make sense, I guess, for Spider-Man because because
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with this Doctor Doom. I'm sure that it'll be fine. Again, my word for the thing is fine, but like I don't know how they're going to get around like having Tony and Victor be the same person because
Hmm.
it really changes a lot like of the dynamic with Reed. And I feel like Reed
Hmm.
and Victor need to be like kind of like Thor and Loki in a way. Not really like trying to kill each other constantly, but like very definitely rivals and very definitely in each other's way.
Right.
And I don't think we're going to get that from if this Reed just meets this Victor because like in the comics they go to school together, like they grew up together, like you know what I mean, like not they didn't grow up in the same like as a young people, but like they went to the same college, I think. So they've known each other for quite a while, and like there's a long-standing like rivalry there, which I think is kind of important to the characters. And I think if we get a
Right.
one-off Doctor Doom, I don't know how we're going to pull that off. So I'm not really. That's one of my big concerns about that whole thing there. And I don't think any
Do
of
you
that's spoilers, right?
No, I don't think so. I know I'm thinking along some of the same lines, but do you think they're going to cast a different Victor Von Doom and the Fantastic Four for Steps than Robert Downey Jr.?
I think they have to. I think they absolutely
Yeah,
have to. Like
yeah,
he has to know a different Victor. I think.
Right.
And I hope to God that the Victor in the one that's in Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange movie,
Yeah.
I pray that it's the guy that played Dwight Schrute.
Yeah. And Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson versus John Krasinski as Doctor Doom and Mister Fantastic is a thing I actually want to see. It doesn't have to be a whole movie, but I want to see it.
That could be funny.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like it's perfect and like
Yeah. It sounds like at least like a credits clip or something like that. It's gotta, yeah, that should
like
happen.
a
That's funny.
mini sode or something somewhere where
Yeah.
they're talking at the water cooler in college or
Yeah.
something. Like they can
Yeah.
digitally
Yeah. That's
de-age them and
funny.
everything. Like yeah. So anyway, but no, like I feel like there's some interesting movies coming up. They're laying back on the TV shows a little bit, which I think is fun because they were
Yeah.
making the TV shows like uncut movies. And
Right.
that's not really fun to watch because that's kind of all over the place. Like they need to have like if they had Vince Gilligan making a show with Captain America and the Winter Soldier, it would be a lot
Yeah.
more intense. You know, like
Yeah.
whereas this, I feel like they just tried to make an action movie and just left all the stuff in that they would normally cut out to make it an hour and a half.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna say something, and you just like I can't see you, so you just like nod your head if this is anywhere on track at all. But what I'm thinking about, and I'm not spoiling this because I have absolutely no clue. I haven't read the comic books or anything like that. But I'm thinking that seeing the Fantastic Four show up, they call it a multi-dimensional, I
extra
think,
dimensional,
craft.
extra
What
dimensional.
sorry? Extra dimensional
Hmm.
craft. So it seems like it's coming from another dimension. Obviously, it's coming from another time. We know that Fantastic Four happens in a different sort of universe where it seems like it's set in the 70s, but it's got all this sort of advanced technology and everything. So it's not the world we're living in, and so they come into this part of the MCU and this part of the universe, maybe because their universe is destroyed because the Galactica shows up, and maybe they're not successful in warding him off, and so they go to just the next dimension to try to warn them and maybe do it over, sort of like Avengers Endgame when they have to do a big do over because they screwed it up the first time. And do you not think that maybe that Robert Downey Jr. in that universe is Victor Von Doom, and somehow he tags along as well?
It's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's possible. Like I've heard a lot of rumors that the Fantastic Four will be a disaster movie.
yeah,
Yeah, which I think will be interesting, and I don't say why I think or anything like that, but there is clues like in the trailers and stuff that are out there. Like you can see on Reed's chalkboard him drawing Penrose diagrams, which I watch quantum mechanical videos for fun, and I know what a Penrose diagram is. It's a diagram that shows you like reality and like anti-universes and black holes and white holes and stuff.
hmm,
So like he's looking
yeah,
at the ways to like get through different universes, and then there's a wormhole diagram literally on the thing, and like so like there's some sort of emergency that they're trying to escape from. It seems like, and
hmm,
it's obviously Galactus from the trailer, but I feel like that's too obvious. So like there's something else going on, I think,
yeah,
and I don't know. I have a theory, like or two. Like in Fortnite, Galactus attacked the island. Speaking of Fortnite, um, they have a thing called the zero point, which is like a huge energy source. It's a real scientific term. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's something about like when all energy, or like all motions at zero motion, or all like all particles are at zero motion or something. Anyway, but like it's a scientific concept, and Galactus noticed it in this dimension and started to go towards it. And Thor was his herald at the time, and he arrived on the island and warned everybody, and went and got Tony Stark, and Tony Stark zapped his Stark Industries from the 616 universe to this island. And then
yeah.
like we had a big event. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. We had a big fight against Galactus where he like rigged all the battle buses with nuclear bombs, and we had to fly them on Galactus's mouth. It was
Hmm.
pretty fun, and like so like Galactus is attracted to things, and like I have a theory as far as that goes, but I won't say anymore because I think it's right.
Okay, we'll
Um,
leave it there.
yeah,
But you think MCU's fine? I think it's promising, finally promising again. So we'll see what happens with Fantastic Four First Steps, and we'll talk about that more as we get closer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to check us out on Instagram, we're at Every.Thing.After_photo. There you'll get links to a blog site where we do some reviews. You'll get links to the podcast on different streaming channels. We're on Apple and Spotify, and I think a couple others. You'll see some photography there. It's a perfect place for you to get in touch with us, be part of the community, send us a message, comment on some of our stuff. Let us know what your ETA is. Maybe we'll have you on the show to talk about it. Until next time.
Hi, I'm Scott Paris. I'm a singer-songwriter of 20 years going on, and my ETA, my Everything After, is my new book, A Guitar Called Harry V and the Cover Band Conundrum. I took a year to write it. It was written in real time in 2024, but it gave me a chance to reflect on everything after 20 years of writing and performing and trying to chase my dream. So it's a perfect thing for the Everything After show, that I've got a book that talks about what I did after chasing the dragon, chasing the dream, and getting really, really close and being very, very satisfied in a job well done, or at least the attempt to finish the mission. And here we are. I'm living my Everything After right now.